Welcome. In this job, I want to talk about our Ajax to HTTP request demo job. There's a lot going on here, and I will just say by way of warning that this video is definitely geared towards developers. So if you're not a developer and not familiar with Ajax as it's handled in jQuery and PHP, this probably won't be a lot of use to you. What it's really meant for, again, is developers where you have the need to fire off an Ajax query to then talk to some HTTP request and then process the results back in your main form page. So first off, a demo, here's what this job does. I essentially have an enter this number field, and when I type in a number, I have a status message reflect just some very simple logic in this box right down here. So what's actually happening? Well, the quick round trip is as such. We start with a on blur event, which is attached directly to the text field, which calls the call web service JavaScript function and passes in the value of the text field as its sole parameter. Call web service as a function is defined as such. We take that input parameter and we call an Ajax function here. This is, of course, jQuery. I should mention that means we are including in our JavaScript section here the jQuery production code. It processes a GET request to a page called request.php. That is actually this guy right here, and it passes that value parameter in as its, again, sole parameter. When we hit this page then, we are essentially processing a single HTTP request module, and what we're going to do is issue a curl call to query.php, and that is this page right here. We are passing a parameter to query.php of gValue. Now, gValue is, in other words, the GET string called value, right? So we're looking for a name-value pair from our GET string called value. Now, value, of course, is being set in our JavaScript right here, right? I'm saying I have a parameter called value, and it's going to equal the string that I've typed in right here. We then fire off that curl request, and that goes down to query.php. We have some PHP head code right here then, which essentially plucks out that value query string parameter. It checks it for a few sanity checks here, and then echoes out our proper response. And you'll probably recognize some of these. So if I don't have any value, we get no value set. If I have my large number, I get number greater than 5, etc. So basically then, as soon as we hit this page, it propagates back up to the HTTP request. We issue an echo response in our response logic right here, and that simply means that when this Ajax call calls into this, it's going to just get whatever we respond back from the curl request. And because the curl request is essentially just like hitting the web page with your browser, we're essentially going to respond back with one of those messages. And then back in the JavaScript function then, we're essentially saying on the done condition right here, we're going to update this field right here with the message that we're returning, and then we're also going to just focus this field right here just for convenience sake, so I don't have to keep tabbing in and out of that field. A couple subtleties about this job quickly. So the first is our HTTP request module here is actually residing on a form page. So if you have an older version of RackForms, and that is older than mid-February 2015, you're going to need to download the latest build to get it so we can add HTTP items to this page. And very importantly, as part of that, you'll notice that my page export mode for this page where we're actually issuing the curl request is set to PHP head code only. It's very important because what that essentially means is that the only code that's going to run on this page, that is the only thing that's going to create output, is essentially this HTTP request module. And there's a subtlety going on here as well, which is that when I have an HTTP request page or module on a page where I have page export mode set to PHP head code only, the only code that you're going to get out of this is essentially this guy right here and any optional PHP that we have. And the reason why we do that is because it really doesn't make sense for us to run an HTTP request in the middle of a page. Though it will certainly happen that way if I just had this set to full export, right? This HTTP request would be wrapped in PHP tags and it would just run. Again, don't see really the reason for that, but it can certainly happen if we want it to. And that's basically it then. The quick overview once again is we have a text field that has a JavaScript function called onBlur. The JavaScript function essentially says I'm going to issue an Ajax recall to request.php, and it's going to pass in a single parameter. Request.php then plucks that single parameter out and calls query.php. Query.php simply is a block of head code here that says, right, grab that variable and then perform some simple logic based on it. And then, of course, that is filtered up through our echo statement in our response logic right here, which then is handled in the original JavaScript's done function right here, event handler, that says, right, populate this field and refocus that field. Finally, I should mention in passing then that, of course, in this job, everything is self-contained, right? We're not actually calling to like a remote event at all. We're just simply saying, right, call into dev and, call this query. In your production code, this will probably be calling to like some SOAP function, right? It would be calling to a server that's running SOAP on it, and then you'd get a JSON response back. And instead of like just doing a simple, well, you do an echo here, but we'd actually process the fields and handler logic in the done event handler right here. So it's kind of generic what we're doing right here. But again, the idea was just to show you a complete round trip built into this job. So of course, if you have any questions about this job or anything else on RackForms, please let us know at info@rackforms.com, and happy coding.